Welcome back to the class, everyone. We are getting back into the swing of things with 5v5, and that being said, it's time to take a little minute to see how First Order TIE Pilot is going to react in that environment. So that being said, this is going to be a very similar type of video that we did last month for 3v3, except for all the team comps that we have done here. You could probably just stop watching right now if you've already seen all of these, are going to be aimed at 5v5. We're going to be taking a lot of concepts and a lot of things that we learned in 3v3 that were honestly very, very good. So starting off, we'll just do a quick review of really what First Order TIE Pilot wants. He wants a source of advantage. The reason why, and I'm not gonna dig up the kit, we've already kind of seen this for a month now, is the fact that you get 100 speed right off the bat if you start with advantage, and that is huge. That's how you are going to get in front of a ton of different teams, including Starkiller and Gas, which I think are probably going to be the two prime targets they're going to be aiming this at. So you need at least one of these characters, and the reason why I kind of give both is because sometimes Hux, depending on your roster, needs to go playing with SLKR, and Phasma can really kind of take that place and probably still do a lot of really good work. Next up is you gotta have a tank. This is really important. We listed it last time as well. First Order TIE Pilot. If he dies, there go all of your bonuses on every single character. So you have to have a tank in there. And furthermore, and I think this is going to be very, very important for this match, is you really, really need crew for almost all of these comps. He is going to make a world of difference by not only kind of similar how Hux is giving you advantage to start with. He is going to give you advantage every single time pretty much anyone does damage, because whenever he's hit, he gives someone advantage for 2 turns. It is a really, really stinking good mechanic, and it's something that this team needs a lot, because if you constantly don't have an advantage, you're just throwing that 100 speed out the window. First Order Stormtrooper, we have some uses for him, but we're going to see a little bit more what Kylo does. Next up is damage, and this is really, really good, because one of our big struggles in 3v3 was we couldn't have one of each of these just because of the nature of the game mode. Now, not only can we have all 3 of these, but we can have 2 damage dealers, which is probably where we're going to end up most of the time. I don't really love the idea of 2 tanks that much. I think we need to get in there and we need to do as much damage as possible. So Kylo, Lobster there, and First Order Executioner are all really good candidates, and I think they can actually be used in tandem also really well. But let's go ahead and get to the comps, and let's go ahead and get to the ideas behind them. Why are we choosing the things that we're choosing? So the first comp that we have is what I'm calling All In, and I'm pretty sure this is the Star Killer killing comp, if there is one. Crew Lead, I think Crew Lead is fantastic. And the reason why we're using it over Hux, and I bet a lot of people are like, oh, why aren't we using Hux Lead in 5v5? We used it in 3v3 and it worked okay. The reason being, Hux is naturally slower than Mara Jade, even after you take in the 100 speed boost that we're getting from First Order TIE Pilots, even though specifically because Mara Jade is also giving a 70 boost and her base is a lot bigger than Hux. That being said, Crew in here, he gives 30 speed on his lead, and that is enough. And there's also some other really, really nice things in here, especially when a First Order ally scores a critical hit, they gain 20% turn meter. That's going to be really good for a number of reasons. Number one, we immediately need to rip off the pre-shot from Starkiller. So let's say Hux is going fastest, which is probably the norm. You're going to call everyone in, everyone's going to assist, and they're going to hit that character. It's also going to rip the buff off or the taunt off of that character. And because all 4 of these characters got 20% turn meter, they're going to be going next, especially Kylo Ren's going to be going next. And then he can go, not this move, he can go and he can give 25% turn meter to everyone, and that'll pretty much have everyone at 100% turn meter, regardless of the the speed disparity between Hux and the rest of the team, because I mean that's almost 50% turn meter at that point. And then you go ahead and you get advantage back with Lobster, and you just go to town on the characters that are there. You get another round of hits from Hux, from Kylo, and you should honestly be able to get some looping type of things in there with the amount of TM and advantage that is going to be going on in this team. Hux will be there as well. He should be able to stop Mara Jade for the most part. When she comes in to hit Crew, she should trigger that and give advantage to someone, and then she doesn't get her bonus turn. It should work out 9 times out of 10. The 10th time being whenever they have GK in the team. That, I don't see a way around GK. If GK is in the Star Killer team, I think you're just dead in the water. The only real way we have around either crit immunity or taunt is First Order TIE Pilot. It's actually his special, that gives buff immunity, but you only can put that on one character, and I think it's going to be, I don't think it's going to be a realistic counter of GKs there, but this is the all-in-one, and this is actually probably the comp that I'm going to be using because my Supreme Leader Kylo Ren is off playing with Night Sisters and want to beat Lord Vader because my Fennec still isn't very great. That being said, there are going to be other comps that I think we're going to be using. This one titled SLKR is a jerk, and that is because this is pretty much the leftover team that you're left with if you're wanting to make like the full SLKR team to stay on defense. And quite honestly, this is still pretty good. Like, you're obviously missing a lot of really good elements that we talked about before. You're missing both tanks because that is the ideal comp for SLKR. I guess you could swap that out with First Order Officer. That would probably be ideal if you're trying to get the most out of those two teams. But yeah, this is still going to be pretty nasty. Phasma lead still isn't the worst thing in the world. We're actually going to be talking about her lead a little bit more in the next one because when they have advantage, they can't be critically hit. And that goes a long way in some fights where a lot of teams, or maybe just even characters, rely a ton on getting critical hits off. And but Kylo is still going to do a bunch of damage in here. First Order TIE Pilot gives a 50% crit damage boost to all of his allies. And this little attack here, it can't critically hit, but it deals bonus damage equal to 50% of his critical damage. So even though we have some characters that aren't critting a whole lot on this team, they're still getting to benefit highly from this. Fox is another character that he gets a lot out of the First Order TIE Pilot Omicron as well, because it gives a 50% health boost. And part of Fox's offense is built on his max health, which he continues to grow through several mechanics that are in his kit. This one right here, if it doesn't kill him, he gets 20% extra max health. So you're getting stacking health on top of stacking health, which he's turning into damage. So overall, this is just going to be a pretty decent team. Not the best one. I think it's going to be susceptible to a lot of things, especially if we stick it on defense. But it's going to hit pretty darn hard. And it leaves you with that, super great SLKR team that it's pretty hard to take out, depending on where you're at in the game. Next up is maybe a gas counter. I'm not gonna, don't quote me on this one, unless it works, and then you can quote me on it. No, just kidding. But yeah, I think if there is a First Order team, that's not SLKR, that has a shot at being gas, it's gonna be this one. So we tried to go after gas with Hux leading 3v3. We actually did this once, and it just, there wasn't enough really damage there. A lot of Hux damage comes from the basics, and a lot of the basics come from assisting mechanics, whether it be from Lobster assisting on his own or Hux calling them in. And gas doesn't allow for attacks out of turn to crit, so it completely neutralizes a ton of your damage. Like, we couldn't really touch him. And the other thing that really, really stunk was we could never get any of our special abilities off because gas was constantly critting our entire team. And we couldn't get anywhere, because I was hopeful going into that match, because Hux, not his lead, but Hux has two things that they don't destroy gas, but they kind of cripple him in some ways, like the leadership not allowing for counters. Like that's a pretty big deal. Gas 5s and Arc all like to counter a lot, and then his unique also stopping the turn meter is also super great. But yeah, the reason why we're going with Phasma here specifically because it's a lead that doesn't allow them the crit, or at least while we have advantage or foresight. And that's what we're going to be going off of. And I really like Kylo in here. I was debating a little bit for Fox. Actually, both this and the all-in-one as well. But I really, really like the constant concept of using his AoE and the whole team getting foresight. I don't use this counter anymore because reasons. But my go-to counter to gas used to be Padme with Grandmaster Yoda, because the foresight, it was just a beautiful thing to watch. Gas is a stacking offense from every buff on the enemy team. He stands back up, he's ready to knock everyone down. He uses his big AoE, and everyone just dodges it. Like, that's really why Kylo is here, is to help generate First Order TIE Pilots foresight, so you don't just get nuked after gas stands back up and wants to kill everyone. So not sure how valid this is going to be, but I think it's going to be the best chance we got. I think the concern is we might lack a little bit of damage to be able to get 5s and everyone down once we do get gas sitting. But, can't test Omicron, so we'll see when we see. And this next team, I don't really have like a super logical reason for liking this team. I feel like we laid out some pretty good logic for a maybe gas counter. Like, this one is obviously based on the fact that SLKR is being used elsewhere. This is the fact that he's not being used elsewhere, or rather vice versa. But the delete button, this one just kind of seems fun. Like, there's, I don't know what you're doing with the rest of your First Order, but General Hux coming in, opening a mass attack, calling, these 3 damage dealers that are all pretty good, and then what else gets to happen, and this is cool, is if you have First Order Stormtrooper Zeta, he has a 50% chance to call random ally to assist. So that is really stinking cool, because then, you know, one of these heavy hitters is going to hit again with their basic. Hopefully it's not Hux. And we all know that basics under Huxley do 50% more damage. So I'm fairly certain this just gets out there and you point at a character and then they just die. I don't know how the rest of the battle goes. It might tank from there, but yeah, it's a very attractive option. I guess maybe a reason to use this team would be if you like to have crew with your SLKR when you're trying to take down Lord Vader, because I think that's the most consistent comp with Watt and Night Sisters. But all in all, I might just try it once for fun, because it looks like a lot of fun. But that is going to be it, guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know how your success went with him in 3v3, if he was more of an offensive team or a defensive team. I am leaning more offensive in 5v5 just because Hux mechanics, he doesn't do a great job on defense. He like swaps turn meter instead of, just, deleting someone right off the bat. But thank you guys for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. And as always, stay awesome.